Now, this is huge news. William Saliba has agreed a new long-term contract that has been broken by David Ornstein. He really is the best in the business, right? When him and Sami Mokbel come in with these exclusives, you know that it's absolutely locked in. William Saliba, we'd said a few weeks ago, along with Bukayo Saka, was close to agreeing a new deal, that things were working positively. That was hand of Arsenal's latest. Of course, an ITK in this space who's been spot on when it comes to transfer stuff and things from within the club. And now David Ornstein has come out and said that while pen hasn't been put to paper just yet, it's all been agreed. And obviously that's just the formalities as they go and write up all the legal bits and all that, you know. I can imagine there's so much stuff that goes into these player contracts and they'll just be drafting that. But the important stuff, the wanting to commit his future to Arsenal, the length of contract, the salary he'll be on, all that has been agreed and all that will be revealed in the coming days. Because as I'm recording this, David Ornstein's update in The Athletic didn't specify how long the contract was for, nor what his pay rise is to. All of that we can discuss in more detail as it emerges over the coming days. But I think the really important thing here is that William Saliba, who I believe is one of the best centre-backs in the world, along with Gabriel Magalhaes, who I also believe is one of the best centre-backs in the world, since the arrival of Andrea Berta in March, both across the start of summer to now we're at the end of summer going into autumn, both have committed their futures to Arsenal. Now, this is going to be interesting to see how long the contract's for, because he's entered his final 2 years of the current contract. I imagine he signed a 4-year deal. I imagine he's extended what he's got by 2 years. And I imagine that he's probably been bumped up to 250 a week or more. And he'd be deserving of that, because Arsenal had a slight hierarchical problem, if you see it as a problem. I did, some don't. Had a slight problem when it came to the money that certain players are on who weren't as important to the squad as they might be now. The likes of Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, we know the usual names. And I appreciate that people always feel like we're digging them out when we mention it. But I think we have to understand that this is what's being brought up in conversation, I imagine, by agents. I think that is a very safe assumption, that William Saliba's agent, Bukayo Saka's agent, is going, hold on, I want my client to be on this amount because your other players are on this amount and we know that they're better than them or certainly more important. And that's where I think the conversations could have got sticky, but it seems like Arsenal have been willing to meet whatever demands are there. And I'm guessing it's 250 or more. It wouldn't surprise me if Saliba's on about 250, if Bukayo Saka is on nearer 300 and becomes the highest paid player at the club. But let's see. William Saliba is thoroughly deserving this, and we need to understand why this was so important that he signed. A, because players are committing to the project. In what is fan discourse that discusses this having to be the year that Arteta must achieve things, the year that Arsenal must win the title, the year of no excuses, the year where, quite frankly, the project collapses if we don't achieve what we want to achieve this year. In what is conversation around all that, a player like Gabriel, a player like Saliba, hopefully Bukayo Saka putting pen to paper, suggests to them that they don't see this as their contracts are running down. They don't see this as this like make or break season for their futures at Arsenal. And that's encouraging for us. That doesn't alleviate pressure on Mikel Arteta to deliver. That doesn't alleviate the demands and the standards to win at Arsenal this year with the squad we've got, with the money we've spent and the years that we've been having a go at it. But it does suggest to you that the players are thinking more long-term, that the players do really believe in something at this club that has legs, something that has longevity, something that isn't defined by just this one season alone. It tells us that the players believe that with Andrea Berta coming in, with the signings we've made recently, with the changes at board level, Josh Kroenke, of course, taking a more prominent role, the likes of Tim Lewis have left the club and then making sort of other changes in the background. There is a feeling that Arsenal, in their eyes, are genuinely trying to compete to win, but crucially that they believe that Arsenal can. I mean, let's look at this another way. Do we think that Saka, Gabriel, Saliba, I appreciate Saka hasn't agreed yet, but it's looking like he will. Do we appreciate that? Let me start again. Do we think that these players aren't winners? Do we think that Saliba, Saka, Gabriel are happy coasting, just getting Champions League football, collecting a nice salary, living in London, and aren't too bothered about whether they get over the line or not? Everything about these players suggests that's not the case. The way they've faced up to battles against their rivals, like Haaland at the back, or the way Saka's sort of wanting to put up, better numbers after better numbers and constantly pulled out big moments for his team. When you look at the way they have played in the shirt and the level that they've performed at, it doesn't make me think that these are players who are signing contracts who aren't really bothered about getting over the line and winning. And when you've got the backing of those players for the project and they're signing new deals, that really, really encourages me. So, yeah, very, very happy to hear that William Saliba is signing a new long-term deal. I have to be honest, I didn't think he would. Actually, did I? I changed my mind. I was in and out of it. I mean, I thought he might, if Arsenal hit the right sort of the right numbers, but I did have real concerns over that Real Madrid interest in 2 years' time. What this does is it gives Arsenal real bargaining power, because Real Madrid will sniff around William Saliba unless they move on to Konate. They've been linked with Gehi. Obviously just signed Dean Howson. They've got a couple of young centre-backs as well. So maybe William Saliba won't be a priority, and maybe William Saliba at this rate is going to finish his career at Arsenal. I mean, in terms of other clubs, you never know if a Man City or Liverpool would come in for him, but I don't believe that is a deal that looks like happening in the coming years in any way, shape or form. And then you're looking at PSG, you're looking at Bayern Munich, but he played for Marseille, so would he play for PSG? I don't know the answer to that, by the way. And then Bayern, yeah, top club, but again, can they afford what we'd probably want for William Saliba? So you're looking at it and thinking, William Saliba might well have signed a contract that, you know, things change drastically in 2 years' time. But as things stand, I mean, he's really committing his future to Arsenal. I think it's a contract that would take him to about 27, 28 years old. I don't know quite how old he is now. Is he 24? I think he is. So that in itself is, you know, that's him giving most of his career to Arsenal. And Arsenal need to make use of it. Where I've mentioned it gives us bargaining power, that's because the likes of Real Madrid had been looking at William Saliba. And they do this thing where, you know, they'll pay the money if they think you're worth it. That will always remain the case for a player like William Saliba. However long he's got left on his contract, if Real Madrid meet a certain demand and he wants to go, then Arsenal might have their hand forced. But crucially, what we're not doing is getting to next summer with a year left on his deal, where Arsenal might feel they have to sell one of their most valuable assets for less than they'd like because Real Madrid are knocking, or waiting 2 years as his contract runs out like Trent did, and then signing for Real Madrid on a free transfer, which would be a disaster for a player of that quality. Arsenal struggle to sell, and if you're going to sell William Saliba, you at least want to get all the money you absolutely deserve for him. I mean, I think that's painfully obvious. But Arsenal have committed him. He's committed to a new deal, and Arsenal have presented a project and a deal that he wants to sign on to, and that's really, really, really encouraging. More years of Saliba and Gabriel and Mosquera and Calafiori and Nkapie. I mean, we're stacked at the back, and that's really great to see. The options are superb. William Saliba showed his quality with that pass to Trossard yesterday, and you know, there's not many centre-backs who can put out those moments of magic when they're not even in their best form. So, yeah, delighted he's signing. Congrats to him, congrats to the club. And, yeah, Saka next, hopefully. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And if you like these kind of sort of news updates. And, yeah, we'll see you all very soon. Oh, and by the way, I did a reaction to Brighton and the fact that we've got drawn them in the Carabao Cup. You can find that here on Goonerverse News. And on the Goonerverse, I did a player analysis and player ratings after the Port Vale win. All right, catch you in a bit.